Jnanakosha, Puranas.
सर्गच्च प्रतिसर्गच्च वंशो मन्वन्तराणि च वंशानुचरितं चैव पुराणं पञ्चलक्षणम्.
Agni Purana. In the forest that is known as Naimisaranya, Shaunaka and the other rishis were performing a yajna dedicated to the Lord Vishnu. Suta had also come there on his way to a pilgrimage. The sages told Suta, "We have welcomed you. Now describe to us that which makes men all knowing. Describe to us that which is the most sacred in the whole world." Suta replied, "Vishnu is the essence of everything. I went to a hermitage named Badrika with Shuka, Paila and other sages and met Vyayadeva there. Vyasadeva described to me that which he had learned from the great sage Vasistha. Vasistha having learned it from the god Agni himself, the Agni Purana is sacred because it tells us about the essence of Brahman, the divine essence. I learned all this from Vyasadeva and I will now tell you all that I have learned. Avataras. Do you know what an avatara is? An avatara is an incarnation and means that a god adopts a human form to be born on earth. Why do gods do this? The purpose is to destroy evil on earth and establish righteousness. Vishnu is regarded as the preserver of the universe, and it is therefore Vishnu's incarnation that one encounters most often. Vishnu has already had 9 such incarnations, and the 10th and final incarnation is due in the future. These 10 incarnations of Vishnu are as follows: Matsya Avatara, fish incarnation; Kurma Avatara, turtle incarnation; Varaha Avatara, boar incarnation; Narasimha Avatara, half man and half lion incarnation; Vamana Avatara, dwarf incarnation; Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Kalki. This is the incarnation that is yet to come. The Agni Purana now describes these 10 incarnations. The fish. Agni told Vasistha the story of the fish incarnation. Many years ago, the whole world was destroyed. The destruction, in fact, extended to all the 3 lokas, worlds of Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka and Swarloka. Bhuloka is the earth, Swarloka or Swarga is heaven, and Bhuvarloka is a region between the earth and heaven. All 3 worlds were flooded with water. Vaivasvata Manu was the son of the sun god. He had spent 10,000 years in prayers and tapasya in the hermitage Badrika. This hermitage was on the banks of the river Kritmala. Once Manu came to the river to perform his ablutions. He immersed his hands in the water to get some water for his ablutions. When he raised them, he found that there was a small fish swimming in the water in the cup of his hand. Manu was about to throw the fish back into the water when the fish said, "Don't throw me back. I am scared of alligators and crocodiles and big fishes. Save me." Manu found an earthen pot in which he could keep the fish, but soon the fish became too big for the pot, and Manu had to find a larger vessel in which the fish might be kept. But the fish became too big for this vessel, as well as Manu had to transfer the fish to a tank. But the fish grew and became too large for the lake. So Manu transferred the fish to the ocean. In the ocean, the fish grew until it became gigantic. By now, Manu's wonder knew no bounds. He said, "Who are you? You must be the Lord Vishnu. I bow down before you. Tell me, why are you tantalizing me in the form of a fish?" The fish replied, "I have to punish the evil and protect the good. 7 days from now, the ocean will flood the entire world and all beings will be destroyed. But since you have saved me, I will save you. When the world is flooded, a boat will arrive here. Take the Saptarishis with that boat. Don't forget to take the seeds of food grains with you. I will arrive and you will then fasten the boat to my horn with a huge snake. Saying this, the fish disappeared. Everything happened as the fish had promised it would. The ocean became turbulent and Manu climbed into the boat. He tied the boat to the huge horn that the fish had. He prayed to the fish and the fish related the Matsya Purana to him. Eventually, when the water receded, the boat was anchored to the topmost peak of the Himalayas and living beings were created once again. A Danava demon named Hayagriva had stolen the sacred texts of the Vedas and the knowledge of the Brahman. In his form of a fish, Vishnu also killed Hayagriva and recovered the Vedas. The turtle. Many years ago there was a war between the Vedas and the Daityas. Demons and the gods lost this war. They prayed to Vishnu to rescue them from the oppression of the demons. They prayed to Vishnu to rescue them from the oppression of the demons. Vishnu told Brahma and the other gods that they should have a temporary truce with the demons. The two sides should get together to churn the ocean. Vishnu would ensure that the Devas benefited more from this churning of the ocean than the Daityas did. The truce was agreed upon and the two sides got ready to churn the ocean. The mountain Mandara was used as a churning rod and great snake Vasuki as the rope for churning. The Devas grasped Vasuki's tail and the Daityas grasped Vasuki's head. But as the churning began, the mountain Mandara, which had no base, started to get immersed in the ocean. What was to be done? Lord Vishnu came to the rescue. He adopted the form of a turtle and the peak was balanced on the turtle's back. As the churning continued, terrible poison named Kalakuta emerged from the depths of the ocean and was swallowed by Shiva. Shiva's throat became blue from this poison and he is therefore known as Nilakantha, blue of throat. The goddess Varuna, the goddess of wine, Sura, came out next. The goddess readily accepted her and thus they came to be known as Suras. But the demons rejected Varuna and were therefore known as Asuras. She was followed by the Parijata tree, a beautiful tree that came to occupy the place in Indra's garden. A jewel named Kaustubha emerged and was accepted by Vishnu as his adornment. Three wonderful animals came out next: the cow Kapila, the horse Uchasharava, and the elephant Airavata. They were followed by the Apsaras, beautiful women who became the dancers of heaven. They were known as Apsaras because they emerged from up water. The goddess Lakshmi or Shri came out next and was united with Vishnu. Finally, Dhanvantari emerged with a pot of Amrit, the life-giving drink, in his hand. Dhanvantari was the originator of medicine, Ayurveda. The Daityas, led by Jamba, gave half of the Amrit to the Devas and departed with the remaining half. But Vishnu quickly adopted the form of a beautiful woman. So beautiful was the woman that the demons were charmed. Pretty lady, they said, take the Amrit and serve it to us. Marry us. Vishnu accepted the Amrit, but he had no intention of giving it to the demons. He served it to the gods instead. There was only one demon who was somewhat clever. His name was Rahu. He adopted the form of Chandra the moon god, and succeeded in drinking some of the Amrit. The sun god and the moon god noticed what was happening and reported it to Vishnu. Vishnu thereupon cut off Rahu's head with a sword. But Rahu had drunk the Amrit, so he could not die. He prayed to Vishnu, and Vishnu granted him a boon. The boon was that occasionally Rahu would be permitted to swallow up the sun and complained about him. You can see this happening at the time of the solar and lunar eclipses. People who give alms during such eclipses are blessed. The gods obtained the Amrit and the demons did not. But the gods became more powerful than the demons. They defeated the demons and regained heaven. The boar. Vishnu's next incarnation was in the form of a boar. The sage Kashyapa and his wife Diti had a son named Hiranyaksha. He became the king of Asuras. Hiranyaksha meditation and pleased Brahma, and Brahma granted him the boon that he would be invincible in battle. Thus armed, Hiranyaksha went out to fight with the Devas. He comprehensively defeated the gods and conquered heaven. He also defeated Varuna, the god of the ocean. Thus Hiranyaksha became the king of the heaven, the earth and the underworld. But the Asura was not particularly fond of the earth. He himself had begun to live in Varuna's palace under the ocean. So he hurled the earth into the depths of the ocean. The gods went to Vishnu and prayed that something might be done about Hiranyaksha. They wished to be restored to heaven, and they wished that the earth might be brought back from the depths of the ocean. In response to these prayers, Vishnu adopted the form of a boar and entered the ocean. Who should he meet there but Hiranyaksha himself? Hiranyaksha, of course, did not know that this boar was none other than Vishnu. He thought that it was an ordinary boar and attacked it. The two fought for many years, but finally Hiranyaksha was gored to death by the boar's tusk. The boar raised the earth up once again and its tusks. Vishnu thus saved the gods and the principles of righteousness or dharma. Man-lion. Hiranyaksha had a brother named Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was furious to learn that his brother had been killed and resolved to kill Vishnu. But this could not be done unless he himself became powerful and invincible. Hiranyakashipu therefore began to pray to Brahma through difficult meditation. Brahma was pleased at these prayers and offered to grant a boon. I want to be invincible, said Hiranyakashipu. Please grant me the boon that I may not be killed but night or day, that I may not be killed by man or beast, and that I may not be killed in the sky, in the water, or the earth. Brahma granted the desired boon, and Hiranyakashipu was happy. He thought that he had taken care of all possible eventualities, and since he had become so powerful, he conquered all the three worlds and kicked the gods out to heaven. And Hiranyakashipu had a son named Prahalada. You no doubt remember that Hiranyakashipu had resolved to kill Vishnu, but strangely enough, Prahalada became devoted to Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu tried to persuade his son. That did not work. He tried to kill his son. That too did not work, since each time Vishnu intervened to save Prahalada. Meanwhile, the gods had been driven off from heaven. They had also been deprived of their shares in yajnas by Hiranyakashipu. These shares now went only to the Asura king. In desperation, they went and prayed to Vishnu, and Vishnu promised them that he would find a solution. One day, Hiranyakashipu called Prahalada to him. How is it that you escaped each time I tried to kill you? He asked. Because Vishnu saved me, replied Prahalada. Vishnu is everywhere. What do you mean everywhere? Retorted Hiranyakashipu. He pointed to a crystal pillar inside the palace and asked, "Is Vishnu inside this pillar as well?" "Yes," replied Prahlada. "Very well then, I am going to kick the pillar," said Hiranyakashipu. When Hiranyakashipu kicked the pillar, it broke into two, and from inside the pillar, Vishnu emerged in his form of half man and half lion. He caught hold of Hiranyakashipu and placed the demon across his thighs, and with his claws he tore apart the demon's chest and so killed him. Brahma's boon had been that Hiranyakashipu would not be killed by man or beast, but then Narasimha was neither man nor beast, it was half man and half beast. The boon had said that the asura would not be killed in the sky, in the water, or in the earth. But Hiranyakashipu was killed on Vishnu's thighs, which were not the sky, the water, or the earth. And finally, the boon had promised that Hiranyakashipu would not be killed by night or day. Since the incident took place in the evening, it was not night or day. After Hiranyakashipu died, the gods were restored to their rightful places. Vishnu made Prahlada the king of the Asuras. The dwarf. Prahlada's grandson was Bali, and Bali became very powerful. When he was the king of the Asuras, there was a war between the Devas and the Asuras. The gods were defeated and were driven off from Swarga. As always, the gods fled to Vishnu and began to pray to him to save them. Vishnu assured the gods that he would do something about Bali. Accordingly, Vishnu was born as the son of Aditi and Kashyapa. The son was a dwarf. King Bali had arranged for a huge sacrifice and had announced that on the occasion of the sacrifice he would not refuse anyone a boon. The dwarf arrived at this sacrifice and began to recite the Vedas. Bali was so pleased at this that he offered the dwarf a boon. Bali's guru, teacher, was Shukracharya, and Shukracharya thought that there was something fishy about the way the dwarf had arrived. So he tried to restrain Bali. "No," said Bali, "I have offered a boon and I shall stick to my word. What boon do you desire? I will give whatever you want." Before a boon was actually granted, a small rite had to be performed with holy water. Shukracharya was still trying to do his best to prevent the boon from being given. So he entered the vessel in which the holy water was kept to seal the mouth of the vessel and prevent the water from being taken out. To get at the holy water, the vessel was pierced with a straw. This straw also pierced one Shukracharya's eyes. Ever since that day, the preceptor of the demons has been one-eyed. "Give me as much of land as may be covered in 3 of my steps," said the dwarf. "I need this as dakshina, fee for my guru." Bali agreed, but the dwarf adopted a gigantic form. With one step he covered Bhuloka, with another step he covered Bhuvarloka, and with the last step he covered Swarloka. The 3 worlds were thus lost to Bali, and Vishnu returned them to Indra. Bali had no option but to go down to the underworld, Patala. But so pleased was Vishnu at Bali's generosity that he granted the Asura the boon that he would bear the title of Indra in the future. Parshurama. The Kshatriya were the second of the 4 classes. It was their job to wear arms and protect the world and rule. The Brahmins were the first of the 4 classes. It was their job to pray, study the sacred texts, and perform religious rites. But the Kshatriyas became very insolent and began to oppress the world and the Brahmanas. Vishnu was then born as the son of the sage Jamadagni and his wife Renuka. Since this was the line of the sage Bhrigu, Parshurama was also called Bhargava. Parshurama's mission was to protect the Brahmanas and teach a lesson to the Kshatriyas. There was a king named Kartavarya who had received all sorts of boons from the sage Dattatreya. Thanks to these boons, Kartavirya had 1,000 arms and conquered and ruled over the entire world. One day Kartavirya went on a hunt to the forest. He was very tired after the hunt and was invited by the sage Jamadagni, who had a Kamadhenu cow. This meant that the cow produced whatever its owner desired. Jamadagni used the Kamadhenu to treat Kartavirya and all his soldiers to a sumptuous feast. Kartavirya was so enamored of the Kamadhenu that he asked the sage to give it to him, but Jamadagni refused. Kartavirya then abducted the cow by force, and a war started between Kartavirya and Parshurama. In this war, Parshurama cut off Kartavirya's head with his axe and brought the Kamadhenu back to the hermitage. After some time, Parshurama was very away when Kartavirya's son arrived at the ashram and killed Jamadagni. On the death of his father, Parshurama's anger was aroused. He killed all the Kshatriyas in the world 21 times. On the plains of Kurukshetra, he built 5 wells which were filled with the blood of Kshatriyas. Eventually, Parshurama handed over the world to Kashyapa and went and lived on Mount Mahendra.